Good morning, everybody. Jim Feist and Hank Goldberg here in Las Vegas. Hank, a 4-team college basketball parlay yesterday. What teams did you have?
I had Delaware, Minnesota, Utah, which I was really lucky to win, and Indiana.
That's right.
And I gave all those games out yesterday, by the way, on our service. So
that's awesome. People have to be very, very happy. I had one play yesterday that was really good, and I'm on a pretty good run. I'm 18-3 in college hoops the last couple of days, or last week or so. So that's pretty good. And we got the Super Bowl coming up, which is everybody, of course, has an opinion on that. And it's funny, when you have 2 weeks between games, everybody dissects every little angle of that game. It's amazing how that happens, and you get phone calls from everybody that they haven't heard from for years. They want to know what you like in that game. It's an amazing event. Hank, what do you got this week? I know you got horses this week too, right?
yeah, the Pegasus race really fell apart. Omaha Beach, who was the 7-5 favorite, scratched yesterday.
Wow.
And the second choice in the race also scratched the day before. So he had he was the second or third betting choice. So it's $3 million stakes race, but it's a meaningless race. Without Omaha Beach, it was going to be his last race before retiring.
Oh, wow.
And I was going to take a position against him anyway. So now you've got, the Sadler has a horse in there, Higher Power. Tax is in the race. Baffert has a horse in there, Mucho Gusto. Really just a bunch of horses. The $1 million turf race, Chad Brown has 3 horses in there. And then Magic Wand, who was second a year ago to Bricks and Mortar, is in the race, but through the outside post 12. And she's 7-5, but you can take a position against that horse, too, because at 1 mile 3/16, it's a short run to the first turn. She's going to have trouble making position in the race. So, actually, I think the Filly Mare race is a better filling race. That's the 11th race on the card. There are 9 stakes races tomorrow at Gulfstream. So I'll be out there early in the morning. They start around 9:30, and I'll be in action the whole day.
When you were living in Florida, you used to go to Gulfstream all the time, didn't you?
Oh yeah, sure. I lived just a few minutes away from the track, and last night they had the Eclipse Awards, and I was going to try to watch it, but I don't know who got the Horse of the Year. I got to find out. I was hoping that the Horse of the Year was going to be Bricks and Mortar, who deserved it, but Fletcher was making a bid for his horse, who won the Breeders' Cup, but he won the Breeders' Cup and not much else, so I'll have to look and see what happened with that. But they had the Eclipse Awards at Gulfstream last night. Eclipse Awards used to be a great event when John Forsythe was the master of ceremonies, and they had it at a great restaurant in Beverly Hills. Now they have the event at Gulfstream in their restaurant there. And they don't have a celebrity host. They had 3 people from TVG. TVG is kind of taken over the event. It stinks. Sorry, pardon my saying so. It's very uninteresting.
Just a side note, you know so much about horse racing. When did you first get involved with horse racing? Make your first bet? How old were you when you did that?
I think I was 16 or 17 years old. I grew up with a guy whose uncle was in charge of mutuals at Monmouth. And we used to sneak out of school. We used to cut school on opening day and go at Garden State.
Oh, yeah.
Drive down to Garden State for opening day when we were juniors in high school. And then I made my first big score at Monmouth, though, and that was down the Jersey Shore, so we were down there anyway during the summer. So I used to go there a lot.
Yeah, well, that's you've been doing it a long time, and you know just about everybody in horse racing, and that's why people need to tune in and get your plays because you're really good at it. You're also good.
I did talk to Chad Brown. He and I are very close, and Chad's the best trainer in the business right now, and he's got 3 horses in the Filly and Mare Pegasus World Cup race today, and he had some interesting things to say about that race. But Peter Miller, the Southern California trainer of note, has a filly in there called Mo Fonza, who I think he won the Hollywood Derby, and Peter says that this is the best turf horse he's ever had, and the horse is a price. I think you got to use him somewhere. Chad's got three horses in the race. I know he likes the Parole filly, who's from the same breeders who had Justified, and Frankie Dettori is going to ride the Great English Jockey because this horse has come over from England. He was with the Great English trainer John Gosden, and he's in Chad's barn now. And whenever they come to Chad's barn, they improve. So I think that's an interesting race, and that's going to produce a top filly and mare for the coming year.
Everybody out there, go to JimFeist.com. Hank will post his horses there, and
they already have them. I gave them the mic this morning.
Oh, great! Anything new? We talked on Monday about the Super Bowl and other things, but anything developed over the last 2 days in the Super Bowl? Was it pretty much the same?
Outbreak of flu in Kansas City. A lot of guys missed practice. They wanted to get a lot of their practice work in before going to Miami on Sunday. All the game plans are done, but half the squad wasn't able to practice because of an influenza outbreak. Jones, by the way, did not practice yesterday, but he's going to really benefit from the off week. He still has the thigh bruise problem, but he was able to play. They said he played part-time last week. He played a lot last week, and he'll be fine for the game.
Yeah.
So, nothing new out of San Francisco.
And college basketball, there's not much today. I mean, there's a couple games in the Butler Marquette games, big marquee matchup, but tomorrow in college basketball is an amazing day. There's so much action, and it's you almost have to start working on those games 3 days earlier because there's so many of them.
Well, there's a bunch of good games. Rutgers is a team that it's New Jersey is going to have 2 teams in the tournament this year who have a chance to do something. Rutgers and Seton Hall. Seton Hall, I think, has won about 9 games in a row. They're hot right now. Rutgers is playing Nebraska, and you got Kansas, Tennessee's a pretty good game. Kansas has got one of their top players suspended because of the brawl the other night. I'm still watching college at Charleston, Furman for the smaller schools. Texas A&M is playing pretty well right now. They got Oklahoma State. There aren't a lot of huge matchups. Kentucky, Texas Tech. Texas Tech has been a big disappointment. Remember, they went far last year, and their defense was supposed to be so great. It has not been. Texas Tech has been on kind of a losing streak right now. And so they're playing Kentucky. And I guess that's about it as far as the high-profile games. Gonzaga just keeps beating up on teams. out west, and they're number one. I think they took Gonzaga out of the number one spot and put Baylor in there. I think that's a mistake. They don't give respect to the teams out west because the guys who were voting, half of them are asleep.
You're right. Yeah, the way Gonzaga's beating everybody up, they should not have removed them from the number one spot. I think that's a mistake as well. But that's politics, and there's politics in sports for sure. But it's going to be a big weekend. Of course, next weekend if we got the game, and all those years of doing Radio Row, do you miss it?
It was kind of fun because I got to see a lot of important people, and it was. I used to get a great charge out of sitting down with Joe Montana for a few minutes. People like that. I have a lot of friends in the business. Phil Simms always came by. Phil and I are good friends. All the network guys used to come by and see me. I had the commissioner when Paul Tagliabue was on. I mean, one year when the game was, I think the game was in Phoenix that year, they had a huge convention center for Radio Row, and they put me right outside the NFL offices. So the commissioner used to walk right by our position every day. and so we snagged him and got him on our show. He didn't do anybody else's show. So we got, a lot of the great people who used to come on. And, we had world-class musicians who came by who were selling things, and it was pretty exciting stuff. I missed that part of it, having a chance to interview some of the top people in the history of the game. If we'd have been there this year, I'm sure we would have had Lynch. I used to cover Lynch frequently when I was working for SportsCenter and Countdown, and I used to get over to Tampa quite a bit when Lynch was playing there. And he always was very good to me in terms of giving me post-game interviews and talking to him before the game to get information that I needed to do the advanced stuff. Because I go over, a couple of days before to do previews of the game. He was one of the most talkative guys. He and Mike Allstott were the two best guys to interview. And I got to be very friendly with those two players over the years.
That's awesome stuff, Hank. I mean, you've been doing this a long time and well respected in the industry, and you've had a great year. I mean, you had a couple bumps in the road like we all do, but successful season. And you were in several contests that you got close to, and I think did you win the RJ or did you come in second?
I was third. It was 2 games. I think you're rubbing this in. You ask me this every show. I didn't win. Cornegay won. I was 2 games behind him, and there was one of the other guys who's a pretty good handicapper who was second. I was third, but I was 2 games behind Cornegay and 1 game out of second place. There's no prize for it, so it doesn't matter. Well,
you did a good job, and I don't rub it in. I just don't remember. You've seen your memory. You know how that goes. But anyway, Hank, we got the big game. We'll talk again on Monday. Have a great weekend with the horses and the basketball and everything got going on. Good luck with it. We'll talk to you Monday.
Thanks. It should be. I think the action on the Super Bowl game is probably as intense as it's ever been. The game right now is 1. The total is 54.5, and I think it's pretty well topped off there. I don't think it's going to go any higher than 54.5. And it's and the 1, it's waffling between 1 and 1.5, and I think it's going to wind up pick'em at game time because I think there's going to be a lot of late money on San Francisco.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know why anybody would be favored in this game. I mean, they look like they don't play exactly the same, but they're both equally as talented and well coached, and they're very talented.
Well, when I worked with the Greek, the first item when we looked at when we were handicapping games was quarterback. And you want to know why Kansas City is favored? It's because of the difference in quarterbacks. Very simple.
And what edge do you give to the coaching?
Well, I think they're both experienced coaches. Andy Reid is great off a bye. He's got a tremendous record when he's got 2 weeks to compare. And San Francisco coach had Super Bowl experience. A lot of people blame him for blowing the Atlanta game because they said he kind of gave it up. Thought he had the game won, made mistakes, lost track of the clock in the fourth quarter. Had probably the worst game of his life in that Super Bowl. And the Atlanta people have never forgiven him. They think they should have won that game, and they think they blame him for the loss. He has experience in this game. Hopefully he learned from it.
Well, I'm sure he did. He also has a very successful father, and I'm sure you know his dad, Mike. I'm sure he's in his corner and giving advice, and because he said he had a successful career as well.
Well, he's also got a great a great defensive coordinator, and it kind of reminds me of the Parcells-Belichick combination. One other thing we didn't mention: Eli Manning is announcing his retirement in a little while, and I think he's a cinch to make the Hall of Fame. He won 2 Super Bowls. He has a record for consecutive starts. He never missed a start. And, he's a Manning. He played in New York. And he has New Yorkers have great memories. He was the only guy to beat New England the year that he beat them. And so he'll get a lot of votes out of Miami, too. So it's a distinguished career that he had, and he only played it for one team. And I don't think his successors are going to follow his lead. They're probably going to make the mistake of going elsewhere to wind up their careers.
Yeah, that would be, in my opinion, a mistake. I can't see Brady, for example, starting out somewhere else. Do you think he's going to do that?
I have no idea what he's going to do. But Kraft said the other day, somebody saw him in the street in New York. Kraft said he wants him back.
Yeah, I kind of think that's what he'll do. He'll probably stay there. Anyway, Hank, we'll talk again Monday. Good luck this weekend, and thank you for your time again.
Okay, Jim. All the best.
You too. Bye-bye. Yeah, don't forget to go to jimfeist.com. Hank's plays in mine, and I'm on a heck of a run in college hoops. I'm 18-3 in my last 21 plays, 9-3 in playoffs in the NFL. I will have a Super Bowl play, if not more than one. And in the NBA, 10-5, and I'm even 5-1 in hockey. So it's been a good run. I must be eating right or sleeping good or something, but it's all falling into place right now. So go to jimfeist.com, and we'll try to make you a little bit more money. And don't forget, now Hank has got some of these big races coming up, and you can tell through the podcast how Hank's connected to everybody. He knows everybody in the business, and he comes up with some really good stuff in all sports and horses especially. So we'll talk to you soon. We'll talk Monday, and have a good weekend.